That's like the iPhone.
All right. So I am with Threadbias, and we are an online sewing community. We launched last year, and we also launched this year in February a quilt design tool that is a subscription service that lets you design quilts right inside your web browser. So I'm just going to show you around the community really quick. Basically, this is the home page. We've got some featured projects that are curated by the folks at Threadbias. Eventually, we'll be building that out into pure social as to what's actually featured. We have a lot of folks who post their projects on the site and show off what they're doing. Anyone who creates crafts likes to show off what they're doing, and this gives them a great platform to post pictures and give a background story of what's going on with what they've done. They can come back over time and keep updating and fill in more information and get feedback from the community. Some of the more popular folks have quite a following, and they get huge streams of comments going on the site. And you can follow each other and get a little activity stream going on. We have forums where you can discuss any kind of sewing related activity. We are a sewing community. There's probably more of a quilting focus on the site, primarily because that's the background of the, my wife and sister, who are my partners in the company, and they do some kids clothes, but mostly quilting. So a lot of that quilting focus comes out a little bit, but we are open to everyone who sews. And we have a fabric database that we've been working to get all the major manufacturers online, and we are still missing a few, but I'm headed to Quilt Market again in a couple of weeks to actually try and fill in the holes that we've got. But we've got about 75,000 fabric swatches online, which are all usable in the in the quilt design tool. And the quilt design tool is how we're making all our money. It's a subscription service. It's $10 a month, and people can have as many canvases as they want. We have storage for all of their designs, any size that they want, and it's basically a drawing application that lives inside your web browser focused on quilting. So you can design out a quilting block and then use that block in a larger quilt design if you want. It's completely free form as far as what you can do, but we put specific tools in that make it so that it's easier to build quilts. There's standard shapes that you might use in a quilt, but a lot of quilting these days is more modern, and so you might use our freeform vector tool, which just lets you draw any shape that you can imagine. But you can fill it in with any kind of fabric that you've put into your stash out of that large fabric database. So you can pick a fabric and fill it in and see what it'll look like in your design. Why this is important these days is quilting is actually gaining popularity quite a bit. Over the past decade, it's the number of quilters in the U.S. has risen by 30% to 21 million, and the market size itself has risen by 130% to 3.5 billion. And a lot of the older quilters are still out there, and they're getting online, and they're spending a lot of time online, and they have money to spend, and we are tapping into that. And there's a modern quilting movement which is bringing a lot of younger people on as well. And the Modern Quilting Guild was founded in 2009, and they just launched their first convention, QuiltCon, in February of 2013 this year, and that's where we launched our quilt design tool. We have a booth there. So that's pretty much what we're doing at Threadbias.
Are there any plans for tools for like dresses and shirts, sort of non-quilting?
Yes, we wanted to start with the quilt because that's what we know best, and so that's where we started. But down the road, we'd like to create alternative versions of this that have tools in it that are more geared towards clothing, more geared towards, say, embroidery or other sewing-related activities. Yeah.
You said you subscription model. Do you have an e-commerce model at all within it?
We are working on a partnership with an online fabric store. We can actually determine how much fabric you need in order to build your quilt, and we're working on a deal with them where we could actually figure out which fabrics you selected for your quilt, how much you need of those, and pre-populate a cart over at the shop, and through a deal with them, make some additional revenue.
Can users use Imagu to vote for the?
They could totally upload their picture to that and get some voting going on. That's definitely a possibility. Yes.
That was on the supply side. On the demand side, would you be looking at partnerships with Etsy and places like that so that you can monetize it on both ends, helping to aggregate the buys as well?
Well, what we also have is a pattern shop. We don't monetize this. It's actually part of our marketing strategy. It's a free pattern shop where people who use the quilt design tool can use it to create a design which they could then turn into a pattern and teach someone how to make that design, and they could turn around and sell it then inside of our pattern shops. And so we have that going on, and that's a free service that we offer. We don't try and monetize on top of that. And most of these people are either creating for themselves or they do sometimes try and sell on Etsy, but I don't believe that there's a whole lot that we could tap into. The margins on that are pretty thin that we would be able to leverage any kind of cut out of that kind of deal on a handmade object. Yeah.
Sorry. This seems like a perfect outlet for and a use of the API with Pinterest. I mean, do you have where people are creating content and then able to post to the Pinterest accounts and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we have links to all the major social sites out there. So when you're looking at a project, you can pin it, you can like it on Facebook, tweet it, G+. People are doing that all the time and getting that exposure out there. It's tagged with us and brings them back over here as well. We also have very active members who have pretty much are evangelists for the site. This is one of them. She tweets constantly about how awesome we are. Never met her before, but she's probably my favorite user because she's constantly screaming how awesome we are all over Twitter. So very cool. Anyone else?
Knitting.
Yes.
How soon for that?
No, not happening, because that space is covered by Ravelry.com, which was part of the inspiration for the site that we built here. Ravelry.com has, they launched in 2007. In 2013, just this spring, they hit 3 million members. So we are basically where knitting was several years ago. Quilting and sewing and fabric-based crafts are starting to get there. So it kind of everyone was jumping into knitting for a while, and now you're seeing a shift, especially in the younger folks, towards getting into more fabric-based crafts where they might have done some knitting, and they still do, but there's a lot of crossover. So we have people on our site who have actually come over from Ravelry. They can create groups on our site, and so you can see what kind of popular groups we have. Our most popular group is actually 154 people who came over from Ravelry. And we've got close to 6,500 people on the site now, and we have 65 subscriptions to the tool right now. So,
Can you contract somebody to make a quilt?
we have extensive forums. You would be welcome to. There's forums on every topic, and I'm sure that you could reach out and find out if someone's willing to do something like that, especially if you've looked at their projects and you like what they've done. You could reach out to them.
Great idea.
Threadbias.
All right.
Alex.